Okay, so I think we're done. Most people went out. So, are you guys having fun? Yeah? Okay, well, you're gonna have even more fun because, as I said, we're gonna start the cybersecurity track now. And to start the cybersecurity track, I'm gonna leave you with a wonderful, beautiful person, one of the best speakers and MCs that we have in this conference. And just be aware, she might have a baby on stage, though. So please welcome my wonderful colleague, Liz Fleming from Adara Ventures.
Thank you. Cheers. Good morning, everybody. I will try not to give you a little surprise with my new incubated project here today. Due in 13 days, which means any time at all from now and the next month. So we'll see how it goes. So far, so good. Folks, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Come on in, guys. Don't be a bit shy. There's a bunch of seats up here at the front, as Alex mentioned. We're really excited to be back here again collaborating with South Summit. Last year, Adara Ventures collaborated on the Deep Tech Track segment, and this year we've gone all in on cybersecurity. And for those of you that don't know us, Adara Ventures is a European venture capital firm registered out of Luxembourg with a team here in Madrid, investing in the kind of western Atlantic rim of Europe, in Portugal, Spain, a bit of France, UK, and Ireland as well. We're one of the first VC firms actually operating in Spain, investing here since 2005, 2006. And specializing in areas of deep tech. We've always only invested in competitive enterprise software technology with B2B business models. So don't ask us about consumer because we don't know anything about it. And we know a little bit about deep tech. And within those areas, we've started specializing even further in the areas of data, from the full stack right through cloud infrastructure to the application layer. And also now as well cybersecurity. We're over 10 years investing in cybersecurity. And we think the sector has kind of come of age. It seems to be a bit of a golden era for cybersecurity, and that's a huge reason why we're collaborating with South Summit on this track today. Some interesting trends have been going on in cybersecurity. More than $12 billion from venture capital money has gone into cybersecurity in the last 3 years. And we're seeing this because there's very exciting solutions emerge from all parts of the globe in the region of cybersecurity. And why is this? It's because we've got real kick-ass cyber criminals, right? So there's a lot of very talented hackers out there who are extremely motivated, have huge resources, and are literally attacking everybody from governments to enterprise to private individuals and making their fortunes. So that's one of the key nuances of this industry, that the pace of innovation is really driven by a cyber criminal versus by the creative entrepreneur, right? The entrepreneur is almost racing to keep up with solutions to keep them out. And it creates for a very interesting ecosystem of innovation. And for that reason, I believe we're seeing some very exciting solutions with some very eager clients. There's big customers in this space that are desperately trying to figure this out. So for that reason, it makes it quite an exciting market. And that's why we're here today. So for the next 2 hours, we're going to touch on some of the key topics and trends in the area of cybersecurity, including intelligence, the impact of AI, IoT security, cloud security, blockchain as a security protocol, and how that's affecting enterprise applications. And then, of course, how do we implement this into the enterprise? How do we have a good, solid cybersecurity plan and actually keep that future-proof also moving forward? So, without further ado, we'll kick off the track. Our first keynote, I'm really excited to see an incredibly experienced woman in the area of cybersecurity. She's a renowned expert in this space, a seasoned conference speaker. She's CTO of cloud and AI security at Microsoft. Before that, she was general manager of RSA in Israel, having come through an acquisition of Sayota, where she was CEO and product manager. And really excited to hear her talk about where cybercrime is going. Please give a very warm welcome to Michael Braverman-Blumenstick. All yours. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So I'm Michal. I'm very happy to be here. And we are going to talk today about the trends and where cybercrime is going to. And this is one of my favorite topics. As fighting cybercrime that's what I'm doing in the last 15 years or so. And it's very stimulating, and it's intellectually interesting, and it's like playing chess, because you always have to be one step ahead of your opponent. Okay, so let's start. So in the past few years, almost every week, we hear about another breach, about another cybercrime scheme. And this is just a sample of the breaches that happened in the last 2 to 3 years. So obviously, I'm not going to read you all of them, but let's look at some interesting breaches that happened in the last few months. So, for example, jackpotting attacks hit the United States. What is a jackpotting attack? Jackpot is like hitting the jackpot in the casino, and it's exactly the same thing. What happened is that criminals are using sophisticated software and hardware technologies in order to break into ATM. They disconnect it from the main server of the bank, so they have total control of what happened on the ATM, and then all the cash is coming out, which is exactly like a jackpot in the casino. Obviously, this is not the way the banks want to use their ATMs. Another thing that happened recently is that hackers breached into the company that the FBI and other authorities are using in order to follow criminals and to track people that they want to follow. Now, you can imagine what happened if the criminals are getting all this information because they hacked into this company. Another example is 92 million records of MyHeritage with the DNA testing was leaked and stolen. I'm sure that those people that have been hacked didn't really want to have all their DNA testing shared with the entire world. And you can also imagine how it can be used to extort money. And of course, everybody heard about 2 weeks ago when Facebook, the Facebook breach happened, and more than 90 million records were stolen. So most of the records that we saw here, well, most of the breaches that we saw here was breaches to steal data or to steal money, which is really most of the attacks that happened so far happen in this domain, the money and data. Because when you steal data, you can make a lot of money with it, to extort it, etc. But this is not the only source of the attacks. So what does baby monitors and fish tanks have in common? Really nothing, except for the fact that now all those devices are controlled by computers and they are connected to the internet. Why they are connected to the internet? Because we can control it from outside and from everywhere in the world, so it's very convenient. However, the fact that those are computers and they are connected to the internet, even if it's a tiny, microprocessor that is on the camera, makes them a target of the attack. Now, the interesting thing is that when IoT, Internet of Things devices, are being attacked, it's usually not for data or money, which we saw in the previous attacks, but it's usually in order to either use it as a backdoor in order to penetrate into the corporate in order to steal something, so just the vector of attack. For example, there was a very famous attack a few months ago when in a German company, the attackers wanted to steal the data from the company. So everything was protected except the fish tank that was also connected to the internet and connected to the main corporate. So they attacked the fish tank, and from the fish tank, they were able to go to the corporate network, and from there, they stole what they wanted to do. Another famous attack that happened a little bit over a year ago, it's the Mirai attack. And the Mirai attack happened when a lot of those devices, now people didn't think really that IoT devices will be a target of attack, because traditionally people thinking, okay, if you have data, important data of this computer, it needs to be protected. But what does a baby monitor or a refrigerator, what data they can steal? But because there are computers connected to the internet, they can be used, for example, in order to make a DDoS attack. So the Mirai attack that happened a year ago was infected millions of devices all over the world, and they all created a huge botnet, which the creator of the Mirai attack used in order to commit a DDoS attack, and it was the biggest DDoS attack in the history. So as you can see, not only data and money are infected and attacked, but also devices. Now, another interesting thing that happened now in cybercrime, that in the past, and I'm not talking 5 years ago, I'm just talking about 2 years ago, we used to divide, I mean, the cybersecurity professionals, we used to divide the attacks into categories. So it was clearly the cyber criminals, those are the guys that really after the money. Then we have the activists. The activists were the guys, and still the activists like Anonymous, etc. What their interest is not necessarily money, but they want to bring justice to the world. They think that if they attack big corporate America or Europe or in the East, they will make a message. Okay. By the way, many times they create more damage to innocent people than anybody else. But anyway, they were activists. And of course, state attacks, nation attacks. The problem now is that those lines are blurred. Why is it was important for us, for the security professionals, to divide them into categories? Because cybercrime is very complex. And you also need a lot of intelligence into understanding what is the attack, what is the motivation of the attack, in the same way that you investigated crime. So understanding the motive is very important. But if the lines are blurred, it makes it more difficult for us to be effective. And again, let's go to the Mirai attack. And by the way, this is the effective damage that the Mirai attack caused in the US. And as you can see, it's all the red dots on the map are the areas in the US that were disconnected from the internet. So almost all the US was down. It's amazing. Now, that Mirai attack, which is a DDoS attack, in the beginning, we thought that it was an activist attack. Why? Because usually DDoS are attacks that meant to embarrass the company. So and many companies were down. So that's what we thought the source was. However, it turned out that the author of the Mirai attack was not an activist. He was a young American entrepreneur, a student, who was a very bright computer science student, that also had his own business to give defense against DDoS attack. So what is better than to create demand to your business than to create the biggest DDoS attack in the history? And that's what he did. So he wasn't an activist, he was just a very shrewd cyber criminal. So as you can see, the lines are starting to blur, and that makes our job more difficult, but more interesting. So I want to talk about the next. We talked about breaching data, we talked about breaching things, and I'm running out of time, so we'll do it fast. The next frontier is breaching reality. So everybody talking about fake news, but fake news is nothing. It's just telling lies about what happened. What I'm more afraid of is fake reality. And fake reality is when you actually modify the reality by cyber actions, cyber attacks. For example, we have cameras everywhere, and those cameras are many times used in a court of law if a criminal, when a criminal is taken his photograph pictures there. But it's becoming now easy to install pictures in those cameras from remotely. So in a way, we can frame people and create really a confusion about the reality. Can you imagine having one of the leaders of the Western world talking with some terrorist and what it will make to the world politics? So it's not only the economy, but it's also politics that's being affected. The second thing is attacking humans. So we know about a pacemaker, but also now so many functions of our body are controlled by by technology. For example, there is insulin pumps, but not only medical devices. We are so dependent on devices that on wearable and of course on phones. And you can imagine, and we carry them all the time. So it's becoming very easy now to attack humans via all those devices that we carry. So it's clear that cybersecurity is not anymore just a technology issue, it's a CEO issue, which means that the boardroom is worried about cybersecurity, where in the past it was only, oh, it's an IT problem, oh, it's a technology. Only the CISO or the CIO are worrying about it. But this is not the case anymore. And as you know, if a breach happens, the CEO will go home. And we have many examples of major CEOs of Fortune 100 companies that had to resign because they didn't protect their company from a cyber attack. Okay, it's interesting to understand the role that now cyber attacks are having in the world. So, can anybody tell me what was the #1 threat to the US in 2017? Cyber. No, that's probably what you thought I want you to do. No, it was nuclear weapons. And for the past 70 years, it was nuclear weapon. However, in the new report that was reported from 2018, it was now cyber attack, and nuclear weapons went to #2 and terrorism to #3. So cyber attacks is now the #1 threat to the US. And it's not only the technology, and it's not only the military. It's attack about politics and the economy, etc. So it's much bigger than just a weapon. So definitely something that we should be aware. And let's talk about the cyber criminals. So the cyber criminals are very sophisticated. It's not script kiddies, etc. Very sophisticated technologies, organized. They have franchise. They have very sophisticated trading, where you can sell your stuff and you can. It's like having eBay or Amazon for cybercrime. You can get whatever you want if you know how to get to these places. Obviously, you don't use Bing or Google to get there. So what we have against us are very sophisticated technology and business-oriented people. And therefore, again, it's making it a difficult problem. And so we talked about the problems. I wanted to start this session by talking about the problems, because we are going to talk a lot about solution, and also I'm going to mention later in another session that I'm running. But let's talk a little bit about what are the principles of the solution, given that cybercrime is advancing so fast. So the first thing is we need intelligence. And intelligence is not just AI, which I'll talk about AI. This is my field for the last 20 years or so. But understanding what the technology is needed. What are the criminals are planning? Think about it. It's cybersecurity, finding the cyber criminals. It's like fighting a war. It's not just enough that you have weapons, or you have your Navy, or your Air Force, etc. You also need very good intelligence. And you need to understand what they're planning. And you need to understand also all the sources of attack. So intelligence, technology, human, etc. This is very much needed. Obviously, technology. You cannot fight cybercrime with the old method, rule-based, regular things that we used to do in computer science. AI is a must. Machine learning is a must, because you need a system that is constantly learning. Why? Because the opponents, the cyber criminals, they use AI, they use machine learning, and they're always trying to see what to do. So you must use AI and very strong analytics. And partnership. There is no one bullet, one silver bullet solution. There is no one solution for the cybercrime problems. We need integration. We need to cooperate also between vendors that are competitors, because only an integrated solution will make us win this war against our enemies, which are the cybercriminals. Thank you very much.